Hi, I'm Nile like the river, and this is the MTGO Discovery Zone. This is a new series brought to you by Daybreak Games, where once a week I'm going to have a different Magic the Gathering expert come on and help teach me different Magic formats. They're going to do this by guiding me through a league using their favorite deck. The show airs once a week, Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific Time on the official Magic Online Twitch channel. But don't worry if you miss it, because a couple days after each episode, you'll be able to find the VOD on the Magic the Gathering Online YouTube channel. This week we're playing Standard, and I cannot wait to see what our expert has in store for us. All right, Yeoman, tell us about Insidious Roots.
So this deck came up when I was doing my usual build 50 decks at the start of every single set. Insidious Roots and Chalk Outline both are really potent cards because they just trigger on you getting things out of your graveyard, and it is very hard for people to graveyard hate you when what you're trying to do is get rid of your own graveyard anyway. And especially seeing Rebel Belt Maverick and Tyvar, those cards are just like a really sick package together because Tyvar makes the root plants tap for mana immediately with the ability haste, and Rebel Belt Maverick sets you up with Surveil and Exiles itself. It is like an enabler and a other enabler. It's a graveyard enabler and a roots enabler all in the same card. And so that package of cards is just really, really powerful. I know people like Sam Black have been working on versions as well. But I built like 3 or 4 or maybe 6 versions of this deck. It's just, there's really powerful stuff happening, and it's just all about trying to figure out how are we able to set ourselves up to do it without either being interrupted or being killed. Because once you get going, I don't think any deck in Standard, except maybe CFT Sock's latest monstrosity, can out end game this deck.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, I am ready to jump right into a league with this. If you are ready to guide me through it.
Yep, I will do a quick thing before we actually get into it while we're waiting in the queue of when you're playing this deck on Magic Online. Arena, there's unfortunately no good way to do this, but the first time any of your triggers come up, make sure that you click on them and click Always Yield, because it will save you a ton of clock time. Our goal is to put a lot of triggers on the stack, and we don't need to respond to any of them. So we just want to make sure that we're moving through that as quickly as possible, especially when our opponent finally gives up an F6s and we get to just do our thing.
Well, great news, we won the die roll.
This hand's really close, but I don't think that we can keep it. Scornblade Berserker is a potent card. We have repossession, we have Tyvar. We don't have roots or any real good way to find it. And if our opponent is on something like Convoke, we're just really not going to get to do anything here. So I think we have to send it back.
All right. Well, this one does have roots and Tyvar.
This looks so much better because we get to lead on Dreamroot Cascade. We have a nice Dark-Click Shores to play Insidious Roots and curve directly into Tyvar. Put back Scornblade Berserker, and we have a really sick hand, especially on the play.
Sweet. All right, we'll put this back, and you said we wanted to start with Dreamroot Cascade?
Right, because we're going to need green on turn 2. We have the Dark-Click Shores for the untapped black mana.
Perfect.
We're all set up as long as we can just play our card on turn 2. Oh, our opponent looks like to be red-black, which is great news for us. That deck has little to zero disenchants and really can't compete with our endgame at all.
We love to see it. All right, roots on 2, your worst nightmare?
Deep Cavern Bat can take our Tyvar. That's totally fine. Rakdos can't really make them any bigger, so they're not actually that threatening. And we... Oh, that is nice.
So do we want to play a second roots? Is there any benefit to...
Yes, because each roots will trigger each time. And so every time if you have 2 roots in play, every time something leaves your graveyard, you will get 2 plants, a 1/2 and a 2/3. And if you have Tyvar in play, double roots can put you to pseudo infinite or actual infinite, depending on what you have available.
Wow. Okay, so we're just putting roots and Berserker down?
I would put roots down and hold the Berserker, because one of the things that we can do is play the Maverick next turn. And if we don't have anything good we can do out of our graveyard, we can use the Scornblade Berserker to kill the Maverick. Yeah, Scornblade Berserker is a really nice creature version of any of the Corrupted Conviction or Altus Reap, any of the classic sacrifice a creature to draw a card, just because you can give that ability to your other creatures with backup. And in some versions of the deck, or in some of our sideboard games, when we have Agatha's Soul Cauldron, you can give that ability to all the plants, and the plants can just tap for 1 and sacrifice themselves. It's a really good time.
Okay, ooh, creature.
So here we don't want to play our land yet, because if we find a untapped green source, we want to be able to exile our Maverick from our graveyard.
Okay, that's smart.
Yeah, there's a lot of tricky sequencing stuff here, but we can start with the Maverick and see what's available to us on our deck that we can maybe put in our yard or leave on top if we can find a green source.
Now, is this one of the things I want to always yield?
Yes, yes, yeah. Basically, every single trigger that we have, we want to always yield just because we don't need it to respond. Ooh. So, we definitely want to put Llanowar Waste on top. It's very possible we want to put Undead Butler on top first because we can draw that second, but we don't have an actual sack outlet, so we might need to put it in our graveyard.
Okay.
Because Undead Butler and Urborg Repossession are both going to be 2 roots triggers each, just because Undead Butler exiles itself and then returns a creature from graveyard to your hand, so that's 2 triggers, and Repossession is 2 clauses on the card, despite being 1 card and a kicker. Because of the way that the rules work, that is 2 separate instances of something leaving your graveyard.
Okay, so are we berserking this Maverick?
Yep, yeah, so we put Berserker into play, we use the backup ability to target the Maverick, and then the Maverick then gains the Sacrifice the Creature Draw card ability. We can sacrifice the Maverick, and then we draw our green source that we had on top, and then we can use the Maverick.
Oh, he's so smart.
To put the counter onto Scornblade Berserker and make 2 plants.
Ooh, this is kind of like the Dream Rakdos start.
Are they going to pump the bat? It's not like we actually care too much about the creature, because one of the things here is that if we can really get going, if we say draw like Urborg Repossession, we will just outscale and outrace incredibly fast.
I assume we don't want to block any of this.
No, because we want to be able to draw a card of our Scornblade Berserker if they don't cut it down here. If we don't draw anything active, if we draw something like Tyvar, we get to have a really good time.
Hey, what about the Archaeologist?
So now, since we have enough plants in play, we don't have to worry as much about keeping our mana super aware, but I would use up like the Llanowar Waste and the Shipwreck Marsh, or just like one of the blue-black lands, leave some green available for future Rebel Mavericks,
sure,
if we mill any over.
But we are playing
play Archaeologist. Yep, yeah. This card is actually one of the cards I think is the best enabler in Insidious Roots, because it can dig you 2 roots, it fills your graveyard, it can go absolutely bananas with Tyvar.
Do we want to grab this Combat Courier?
We absolutely want to grab that Combat Courier, because that's going to be 2 additional plant tokens. And we can even play our land here and threaten to draw a card if they don't block Combat, or even if they do block Combat Courier, but just make sure we get a card back off of it.
Sure, but we are attacking with it.
Yeah, we do want to play our land, because that way we get to attack with our plants. And that way, if they block either Scornblade or Combat Courier, I would actually maybe even hold back Scornblade just so we guaranteed get that card. If they want to block Combat Courier, they can, but we'll just draw a card anyway.
And you think we attack with these 2 plants?
Absolutely, because one of the things people get a little bit focused on with these decks is trying to like always combo. But realistically, we're just attacking for 7 on turn 5. And next turn, if we do anything, we're going to be attacking for a whole lot more, because each trigger is going to cause each plant to grow by 2.
Do we want to draw a card with this guy?
Yep. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons that something like Rakdos Midrange has such a hard time with this deck, is because they can't interact with the engine, and they can't really stop us from getting a ton of value.
I mean,
so it's like,
this seems like a pretty crazy start. Would you say this is typical of the Roots deck, or is this like really...
I mean, a double Roots draw is above average. It's certainly really, really good. We didn't have to dig for it all. We just naturally had turn 2 Roots, turn 3 Roots, turn 4 we managed to get the green source. This is a really good draw, but this is basically what you want to set up, is like make sure that we don't die or have any like really strong disruption early, set ourselves up with the engine, and then just put our opponent in a situation where they kind of have to race and hope, but like they can't outrace us. So here we can even trump with the Philology Archaeologist, because its job is done. We don't really need it to do anything else. And if we draw a Tyvar, we want to be able to Tyvar that, get additional value, maybe find like an Urborg Repossession, find another Roots, find something else, get some more mill going.
Another bat? So are we drawing with the Berserker?
Yeah, we can see what else we have available. The nice thing about a deck like this is that so much of it is like self-replacing. So here we can play like the Combat Courier and then sacrifice it to draw more cards, make sure that we hold up blue so that we can reanimate the Courier, because that's just another 6 power on the board, plus, or 6 power this turn, plus another 3 power for a future turn.
Okay, and we're just gonna sack it immediately.
Yep, and if we draw something like Tyvar, then we can go really bananas. But for now, it looks like we're probably just going to be able to outrace them this game, barring anything really annoying like a Shieldred.
Herboard repossession.
So unfortunately, because our Darkslick Shores is tapped, I think it's better just to bring out the Courier and swing out, because we're in more of a racing mode. But next turn we have repossession, we can double rebuy, get 2 Roots triggers, play something like Philology Archaeologist, or we can do the Butler Scornblade setup depending on what's happening. Because if we do Orbital Repossession into Scornblade plus Butler, that's 4 Roots triggers, which is 8 with double Roots, which is just, they should be dead. So
we're swinging with everything.
Yep.
All right.
Because we basically want to put our opponent in a spot where they can't possibly outrace us.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a wild board. And I think especially given the fact that this is against like kind of the dream start for Rakdos, it feels really good that we are feeling like we're in a pretty good position. And might as well play the Shores, right?
Yep.
No, like,
yeah, we can use all the mana available to us. There's no reason to hold it back.
Cool. So Yoman, you did play the 75k, right?
I did. My run with Esper did not go super great. There was a lot of flooding out after board wipes and things, but it happens. I was still happy with my list, not too worried about it. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. If you ever feeling bad about yourself, just go on MTG ELO project, find your favorite pro, find one of the GPs where they O3 drop. It happens to literally everybody.
Love to see it. We just taken 7 damage.
I think it might be worth it to use. Let's see how much they have. 1, maybe 2 blockers here. We have a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. I think we can just let this through because repossession will also gain us some life if they do end up having a Shieldred here.
Sure.
Because we'd only be going to 1.
Right. Obnix. Are a lot of people mainboarding Obnix? Oh, they didn't even casualty it.
Not casualting is interesting. So we have... They have 2 blockers. We need to get through 7 damage. So we need to get... Or no, we need to get through 13 damage. I don't know if we can do with just 2 plants, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 triggers, which is only plus 8.
Sure.
So that's 11 damage, which is not quite enough.
So
it might be best to start with a repossession targeting probably Archaeologist plus... I want to say Scornblade. This is one of those spots where it's a little bit tricky. You just have to make a judgment call and figure out what we can use to best dig through. Because if we find like a Tyvar, then we can really go silly. So Archaeologist is better since it's not guaranteed lethal if we do the Butler play.
Sure. So we're kicking the repossession?
Yes.
Right. And we are getting which 2 did you say?
Archaeologist and Scornblade Berserker. And of note, for anybody playing this, when you kick Arbor Repossession, you always have to hit a creature first, then the second thing. It can also be a creature if you want, but...
And we...
Oh, no. Did we math wrong?
This seems like a lot of damage.
No, it was 8 triggers. Okay. So we messed up. We could have had the lethal, I think.
Could we still, if we... with the backup?
I
think we're
right now it's 11, 12. So we should... Archaeologist first.
Okay, sure.
Leaving up the green mana. Because we've used up both couriers, and if we hit a what is it, Rebel Maverick, we want to be able to do that.
Sure. Alright, we did not hit anything.
We cannot play the Scornblade Berserker now because then we would be dead to NT on the crackback. We might still be because of the devil tokens. I think we might have let this... Oh no, NT is going to die here, so we should be fine. Yeah, so we just have to swing all the way out, I think.
Okay. Attack with all creatures, attacking them.
Yep. Because this forces NT to be a blocker. They must have removal spell.
Sure.
Sure.
They've had a lot of removal spells. I guess that
They
is
have,
their
but
deck.
since they blocked with Inti, we are going to be fairly safe. We're going to take 1 from the Devil token and 1 from, or 3 from Bats, leaving us at 1. So we should just hold here, and I might even not play the land just to avoid Obnix as like an out for them.
Sure. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, so we lightly missed lethal by forgetting that double roots means 4 triggers is actually 8 triggers.
It seems complicated.
Yeah, it's a fun deck though. I greatly enjoy any of the aristocrat style decks, and so when they're actually good in standard, it's a good time.
All right, so what kills us? Shieldred, another Inti.
Yeah, Shieldred or Inti or another Ob.
And then should we kill this creature at this point?
It's probably fine to just trade, since they're dead on board to a lot of things. I do like letting the Archaeologist die though, because it gives us more live Tyvar and Herbal Repossession.
Okay, so just to be clear, I am like triple blocking it.
Well, you can just double block it. You don't need to triple, right? Or it's no, I wouldn't sacrifice 2 plants for it. No.
Okay, we go to 1. We dodge Shieldred 1 time. 1 time don't have Shieldred.
They're thinking an awful lot for somebody who would have Shieldred. So I'm going to say that they don't have it.
Ooh,
yeah, I love that.
Expertly
Never
piloted Yeoman. Wow, incredible. Okay, so sideboarding.
So honestly, there's not a ton we need to do here. Since they are an Inti deck, I am tempted to put in a couple of these cut downs. Make Disappear isn't super important here. That is a main deck way to sort of cover all things, but mostly a way main deck to have a better game against blue-white control.
Sure.
Philology Archaeologist finding it or Sky Turtle buying it back makes the farewell games just so much easier to manage. Vile Spawn Spider is normally a thing that we can cut against some of the decks where it's not super important to block, but because they have bats, I am tempted to just leave them in.
Sure.
Honestly, I don't really expect them to have any real graveyard hate, and most of the time the graveyard hate available to red-black isn't as threatening as something like Tranquil Throwback or Farewell. So we don't need to worry about anything like Pick or Poison for like an unlicensed toast or anything, just because, again, anytime we have roots in play and they exile things, it's just going to make more plants. So we get to trim very lightly and just make a nice little swap out, and I think we're all set.
Wow.
Again, this is one of the matchups that is just inherently favorable to us because they can't interact with our engine, and they can't really kill us fast enough to stop it from happening.
Sweet. I'm glad that's our first match then. What do you think is the worst matchup for us?
Esper, I think, is probably the scariest, and the big reason I didn't play it at the 75k, just because as you could see by the metagame breakdown when they pulled that up, it's a large percentage of the field, just because they have disruption and a good clock, whereas most of the decks in the format can do one or the other. Domain can't kill you fast enough. Blue-white can't really kill you fast enough. Convoke can certainly kill you fast enough, but they can't interact back, so it is largely just a solitaire matchup. Very, early 2010s modern, where 2 ships passing in the night, and it's mostly like, can they kill you before you get like 3 roots triggers?
Sure.
Oh, this hand is so tempting, but we don't have the mana, but we do have Maverick. I would be incredibly tempted to keep this hand just because it is so strong if we can find the lands, and we do have Maverick and we're on the draw.
A greedy little keep?
I think a greedy keep.
A greedy little keep as a treat. We've earned it.
If this land didn't make green and black, I would be so much less tempted to keep it, but because it does, like, almost any land in the deck will let us play roots.
They're gonna know. They're gonna know our greed.
That's fine.
Actually, they're probably just taking roots, right?
Yeah, they should be taking roots, yeah.
Alright, so we're definitely just playing our Maverick?
Oh, yeah. Maverick is like the best turn 1 play the deck has. It's so sick. Wow. Well, I think we put... So one thing to be careful of here is we probably want to put both back on top, and we do probably want to play the Llanowar Waste first, just because curves out normally.
So we need to
But-
put Dream Root Cascade on top first?
Correct. But that means we shouldn't play our Undead Butler on 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That is something that I got by when CCR was playing the deck on Arena, had Vilespawn Spider in play, and surveilled something to the top, and then immediately milled it before drawing it, and just had the biggest facepalm. It is really easy to forget some of that stuff. We're like, all right, we're going to curve out, and then you just mill over your land, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, that seems like a very very easy thing to forget. What do you suppose they're batting here? The Butler? That's great. We weren't going to play it anyway.
I don't know that they should have done that. I as somebody, like, on our end of things, I think the Sky Turtle was the scariest thing for them to take away from us.
Sure. We might as well attack with the Maverick, right?
Absolutely. If they block, it's great. If they don't block, we've got a damage in. And we can just play the Combat Courier.
Easy turn.
And say go. And then our next turn, we'll have the Dream Root Cascade.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's probably actually better to not play Tyvar here, just because we don't know what's on top, and we could guaranteed rebuy Insidious Roots at the end of their turn.
Sure.
What did they exile with Inti?
Oh, a mountain.
A mountain, okay, sure. They make their land drop. Ooh, are they thinking about it? Do they need to play a black source? It's always fun when people pause like this on Moto, because you don't know if they just got up to go get a drink or if they're really thinking about their land drop.
Yeah, maybe they've got another Blackleaf Cliffs. You know? Maybe
that would put them in a real like a Blackleaf Cliffs and Blackleaf Cliffs and like a Shieldred. Mm-hmm. And they're just and no fourth land in hand.
Oh, they've decided to play the mountain. Alright, so you think it's better to just hold our Sky Turtle activation?
Yeah, I think we can honestly just pass. That way they can't attack with Inti without putting counters on it. We can chump with Rebel Maverick, or not even chump. Like, if it has trample, we can still block with it just to get the creature in the yard. I might even block with both, even if they attack. Mm-hmm. Just because the threat of unearthing either of them is so much more potent than just having the 1/1s in play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you think double block to get these guys in the yard?
Yeah, barring any shenanigans. Are they putting the counter on the bat or the Inti? I assume it'll be on Inti.
It's on Inti, it looks like.
I think they're still deciding to discard.
Oh, you might be right, yeah.
Because the arrow up instead of the arrow down.
Oh, it's on the bat.
It is on the bat. I would offer this trade every day of the week.
Sure. And they got another bat.
So now if they want removal, they can't bat us.
Right. And if they want to kill one of our creatures before damage, that's great news for us.
Yeah.
Sweet. Alright, so we need to Sky Turtle in oh wait. Oh, this is awkward.
So they're playing the bat. It might be a spot where we let them take the turtle if they want.
Okay. And we just play a Tyvar if we have to? Sure.
Yeah. Just because bouncing one of the bats isn't great, and they'll still take the Tyvar.
Any reason not to play this land before we play Tyvar?
We can wait on it just because we're going to need to pain once to get Tyvar anyway.
Sure.
Alright, let's get like a Philology. That would be really nice. Vilespawn would also be fine.
Yeah, I'd love to use this. We've got 2 Mavericks, a Butler, and a Combat Courier.
I think we probably actually want a Maverick just because we need to set up and draw something, whether that's a cut down or new roots or something.
Sure.
They're going to be taking out Tyvar and pressuring our life total.
This one we put in the graveyard for sure.
Yeah, we don't need to draw Tyvar. Drawing Philology, I think, is good because it's either going to be additional looks at something or just additional bodies in play. And I think here we just save our graveyard ammo.
Okay, we're just passing.
Yeah.
Don't love 4 damage of flying lifelinkers. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean the lifelink hopefully doesn't count out too much. It's more about the flyers. If we can get like a Vilespawn into play and put a counter on it with a Rebel Maverick, that would be really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also shown us that they have a lot of removal, and I don't know how much of it they actually took out.
No blocks. Kill Tyvar, that's fine. Hard Fiend of the Dross.
That one's scary.
That is scary. Are we just dead?
Well, let's start with Philology and see what we can get.
Guess we could get a spider that maybe doesn't gets us out of it.
Well, the Philology can't get the spider, but it can get repossession. It's really unfortunate that we don't have another land here because we could kick the repossession to get back roots, but I think here we might be dead. So we're going to take 10 in the air. Yeah.
We can go up to 11?
Yeah, and at that point, it's probably better to get Combat Courier, just because that represents a cheaper draw.
Does that mean we should also play Combat Courier?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot going on for us, because they can have any removal spell or Inti or anything, but they also only have one card in hand, so we can just kind of cross our fingers and hope at this point. Oh, we're so dead.
Okay.